All right, everybody, we are happy to be with you today. I'm holding two microphones. Looks like a press conference, holding two microphones. As we look across western New York, we do see a bit of a milky sky because, once again, Melissa, the smoke is lingering, but it won't be as bad as yesterday.
It's not, and actually, it kind of smells like Cheerios and smoke up here. A little smoky flavor.
Toasted oats.
Honey Nut Cheerios, toasted oats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not that bad. It's definitely not as bad as yesterday. My goodness.
Yeah.
And is it going to get better today, or it's going to stay about what we are right now?
It's going to stay about what we are. But again, this is smoke, so it sort of wafts through. So it'll change from minute to minute, or half hour to half hour,
depending on how the wind blows.
Yeah. So but again, if you look up, you see blue sky. But if you look across, if you look across the horizon, you see that clearly, obviously, the gauziness to the sky as well.
Yeah,
so.
I've been thinking about kids who are in summer camps. Like last week was so hot in the 90s or close to 90, and then this week with the smoke, and then next week we're going to be like 70.
Right.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah, one day around 70,
Okay.
but for those of you that like your highs in the 70s as opposed to the 80s, I think you're going to like next week.
Good. I'm glad. I mean, I prefer 80, but that's okay. I'm happy for those of you who like it room temperature.
80's good.
Yeah.
A high of 80's, and that's our average high for July, is around 80.
Huh.
Which is true. Normally our average high for today's date is around 81, I think. And we're going to be 80 today. So you're of reasonable health.
Yes.
And you're going to do moderate exertion today.
Yes.
So you're going to be fine.
I'll be fine.
And 90-something% of you are going to be A-okay today. But I got to do ad nauseum with these weather impact alerts because I'm doing my job. If there's snow coming, I got to talk about snow, and if there's poor air quality, I got to talk about poor air quality.
Sure.
But I think that, and again, I'm not the decision maker. The 4-mile chase, in my opinion, I think they're going to be fine.
Right, and if you really do have health concerns, then you'll have to sit this one out.
Yeah, you do
That's
you,
okay.
you do you, but if you have lung issues, again, I talked about Lance Mellon before, a young guy. My biological dad had asthmatic, he had asthma. So he had, had the inhaler, had some issues, some things he couldn't do every once in a while.
Yeah.
So you, and if you have cardiovascular issues, if you're very old, if you're a baby.
Hello, babies.
Hello, babies. Limit your outdoor time today, but everything else is a go.
And 95 masks go a long way, too, to help with breathing and cleaner air. So
saw a young man wearing an N95 mask yesterday. Go, protect yourself.
Yeah, but we're almost, the end is in sight. The smoke is almost clear, and hopefully it'll be a pretty nice weekend, except for some storms. So you got to talk about that. I'll go downstairs to do the news and let us know what's happening this weekend weather-wise, Kev.
Got yourself a deal.
That's very impressive.
Oh, I could juggle. I don't know where my car
It's
keys
making
are.
me nervous.
You are?
Yeah, because I wouldn't catch.
Oh, you kidding me?
No,
it's just a foot. Here,
you know. No. You know. No, I'm good. Thanks.
No problem. So tomorrow, again, some storms around. The air quality index is what we're looking at. Let me back up one more graphic. There you go. This is our forecast AQI of a 150. We're right on the cusp of unhealthy for some and unhealthy, okay? But again, a majority of you will have an A-OK day today. Future wildfire smoke, the purple was the really acrid, low, dense, health affecting stuff where it smelled like smoke. That was yesterday. So yesterday we were in the purple, if you'll allow me that. Today we're sort of in the red, which means it'll be thinner and a little bit higher atmospherically, so not as impactful, not as poor health inducing, if that makes sense. Precipitation wise, man, if it wasn't for the smoke, it would be a picture perfect day with sunny skies, a high around 80, light winds and low humidity. So again, if you can deal with the haze, you're going to love today. Tonight, I think your outdoor patio plans are a go. And again, the smoke is expected to sort of continue to thin out and wane for our day tomorrow. In the morning, scattered showers. No thunderstorms in the morning are anticipated. On and off showers. So again, you'll have some dry windows in there. Once you get to about 1 p.m. or so, I think from 1 to 6, and again, Future Look bounces around on the timing of this. So my message to you is from Saturday 1 p.m. to 6 p.m., I think you're going to lose about half an hour in there to storms. okay? There you go. So again, don't try to time when and where. If you have a wedding, an outdoor event, you're going to lose about half an hour. Just accept it right now. Once you get to 7 p.m. or so, I think we're dry. It's going to be a lovely Saturday night and a gorgeous Sunday as we start partly cloudy but end up sunny, with temperatures in the 70s and low humidity and light winds. Mwah! Chef's kiss. A lovely Monday as well. Severe storms are possible on Saturday. The Storm Prediction Center, in their wisdom out of Norman, Oklahoma, has Western New York at a slight risk, with the main threats being damaging wind gusts. We have a 0% chance of hail, but they did throw in a 5% chance of an isolated tornado. That does not mean 5% chance for your house. That means a 5% chance in this region of getting a weak isolated tornado. Okay, 69 degrees right now, dew point's at 61, pressure's on the rise, weather impact alert with, again, some sensitive folks should limit their outdoor plants today. Around 80 with filtered sunshine, a wind light and variable, showers after midnight. Tomorrow in the morning, scattered showers, and then just plan on losing half an hour with storms around in the afternoon. Some may become strong. Sunday, awesome. Becomes sunny with a high of 74. Monday, terrific. And Monday's the day that we're going to have today without the smoke. It's going to be lots of sun, 80, light winds, low humidity. Tuesday, dry almost all day, some PM shower chances, and that, Melissa, is a cold front on Tuesday. So it plummets our temperatures Wednesday. Much of our day on Wednesday will be in the 60s.
Wow.
A high of 71 on Wednesday. And then we'll be, I'm going to get back on my mark, and then we are going to be in the 70s Thursday and Friday of next week. I have to get closer to the monitor to read. And then I got to get back in my mark when I'm on. I'll be back downstairs in a bit.
Okay, sounds good. Kevin, thank you. And we want to get to some breaking news right now that just came into our newsroom. We're just now learning about an early morning shooting on Buffalo's west side. Buffalo police say it happened around 4:30 this morning on Rhode Island Street near West Avenue. Officers found a man with several gunshot wounds to his chest and stomach. He was taken to ECMC, but they say he is expected to survive. The investigation is continuing. Anyone with information should reach out to investigators at the confidential tip line 847-2255. On a shocking bombshell at the Buffalo Public Schools, an employee for the district is preparing to take legal action against the Buffalo Board of Education. It involves former school superintendent Pascal Mubenga and Board of Education member Mookie Hawkins. The notice of claim states that district employee Antoinette Amos allegedly endured months of sexual harassment, unwanted physical contact, retaliation, and abuse of authority by those two. Now, the attorney representing Amos tells us the pattern of these allegations is what stands out the most, and the behavior violates public trust.
Our client, Ms. Amos, was the receiving end of unnecessary and unwanted sexual advances by two members of the Buffalo Public School District, both the superintendent and a board member.
Now, these allegations are not sitting well with members of the board. We reached out to all of them for reaction. However, only two of them agreed to go on camera. 2 on Your Side's Nate Benson. Here's what they have to say.
Reaction to the allegations that former Superintendent Dr. Pascal Mubenga allegedly sexually harassed a cabinet member for more than 6 months, and board member Louis Mookie Hawkins also allegedly sexually harassed, intimidated, and retaliated against that same employee, has been met with strong condemnation from current board members, former board members, and the Buffalo Teachers Federation.
It's reprehensible. It is a sad day for the Buffalo Board of Education and Buffalo Public Schools. And I'm feeling quite disgusted with what is occurring right now.
But for a woman working in City Hall, and this is occurring by the top, it's inappropriate and it's disgusting. Unacceptable.
It does erode trust. It does erode confidence. There's always a fear of retaliation when somebody reports something.
I was more disgusted, if anything, if I had to pick an adjective, but not necessarily surprised.
Dr. Mubenga abruptly resigned on Monday, and at the time there were a myriad of questions as to why.
Monday he resigns. Now, Thursday morning we've got these bombshell allegations. Did you think it would have escalated to this based on what you learned on Monday?
I did. Yep. And you know, the minute some of these things were presented to us, he was gone. He was gone, and we did everything that we could to ensure the safety of our employees in this district.
Another part of this ordeal for former board member Cindy McGacken is the initial sexual harassment allegations that were reported against a board member in early June. We now know that the alleged board member is Louis Mookie Hawkins, according to the notice of claim. However, details weren't shared with the whole board back in June.
Part of my frustration prior to my departure from the board was not a clear understanding as to what those allegations were, how many of them there were, exactly when information was brought to us, and frankly, very little information given to me in order to make an informed decision.
But Hawkins was allowed to continue board business after the allegation was made, and even voted on the law firm that was retained to investigate the allegations against him.
How was that able to fly?
It sounds very fishy. Those are questions that have to be directed to our board president. She is the one who is in charge of executive session. I don't make those decisions, but it does sound fishy.
Do you think it was done by the book?
I don't know if I can answer that question.
That firm was not properly appointed. We did not take a public vote, and we were told by the board president that the accused board member would not participate in any discussions regarding the sexual harassment allegations toward a board member, and that board member did.
Why wasn't that board member forced to recuse themselves from all board business while there's an open investigation?
That is a great question, one I also am trying to answer. And I don't have an answer, nor did I get an answer to that question.
You can't have an impartial investigation into somebody if the somebody who's being investigated had a say in who is doing the investigation.
And Buffalo Teachers Federation President Rich Nigro says that the lack of transparency about the initial investigation is a key reason why confidence in the board from teachers in the district may be in jeopardy. Is there precedence for a vote of no confidence by BTF for the board itself?
There very, very well may be. It is very, very difficult to rebuild trust once you've lost it. And it is possible we're at that point.
In Buffalo, Nate Benson, Channel 2 News.
And as we've been reporting, Mubenga abruptly resigned on Monday without publicly giving a reason. 2 on Your Side has reached out to Mubenga and board member Hawkins several times for a comment about these allegations. And as of right now, we have not been given a response, but we will update you if we learn more. And this, of course, is a developing story that we'll be following in the coming days and weeks. And for the latest updates, you can visit our website or download our free news app. Stay with us. We're going to take a quick break. We'll have much more coming up on Daybreak. Welcome back. 2 on Your Side is tracking the outbreak of cyclosporiasis in several states, including New York. None here in Western New York, though. The stomach bug causes weeks of severe diarrhea and has sickened thousands across the U.S. 2 on Your Side's Kelly Dudzik spoke with a health expert about the outbreak, and that expert joined her here in studio earlier this morning. Here's that interview in full.
Live in studio is clinical assistant professor and interim chief for the Infectious Diseases Division at the Jacobs School of Medicine, Dr. John Hu. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
What is this latest from the FDA telling you? I mean, there were rumors earlier this week that it was the lettuce from Taco Bell, but now they say they're zeroing in on that.
Sure, absolutely. And I think whenever we have an outbreak like this, the key is to try to find the identifying source. And so earlier this week, a couple days ago, they were implicating potentially Taylor Farms and Taco Bell. And yesterday, there was an official announcement by the CDC asking people to avoid shredded lettuce. Now, in that announcement, Taylor Farm was not officially named in this. And so 5 states have been implicated, and these are Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, Kentucky, and West Virginia. Now, I think it's important to note that 34 states have had outbreaks, including New York State. And so this does not mean that this is the only potential source here. And so I think vigilance is key here.
Yeah, just pay attention. Like, what trends have you been noticing? Because people are talking about the 4 states, now the 5 states, but there are cases in other states and people have gotten sick. This also all depends upon who reports it. And sometimes if people have really bad diarrhea, they might just take care of it at home and not tell their doctor, and then it doesn't get reported.
That's right. Diarrheal illnesses always have a challenge in terms of case finding. And so specifically for cyclosporiasis, the ingestion of the oocysts or the infectious eggs, sometimes symptoms can take up to 1 to 2 weeks to present. And so having the ability to have an accurate recall of what exactly you've eaten it can be a challenge. I think in addition to this, the typical testing we do for stool, such as an ova and parasite, does not routinely pick up this parasite. And so the provider has to specifically ask for special testing to find it. And so we find this case lag in terms of when symptoms present, but also challenges in detection. And as you said, not everybody seeks care whenever they have diarrheal illness. What I've been telling people is that if you have symptoms for more than a few days, especially in this current outbreak, you should probably seek care. And even if you are not facing dehydration, for example, the ability to have these cases reported is going to be important for health officials to find. I will also say for us at home here in Buffalo, in Erie County, I was just communicating with our county health officials. We've had one single case, but this is not above our typical threshold where seasonality comes into play here. And there's been 129 cases outside of New York City.
And then you've also got to ask the person, did they travel? And then some people keep food logs because they track everything they eat, but not everybody. And so it might be hard for somebody to remember what they ate a couple weeks ago so that the government can then track down the source. I mean, there are a lot of things that have to fall into place here. And it also reminds me the early days of COVID when people were doing contact tracing, the same kind of thing.
That's right. I mean, I think keeping food logs are great, especially if you're in an area with high numbers. But I think when at the end of the day, having the accurate testing is going to be key here.
What causes this to spread so quickly? Because it's a parasite, right? You can't get sick. I think it was important the other day when we were hearing that you couldn't get sick from another person who had it. You had to eat the food that had the parasite on it.
That's absolutely right. So unlike other notable diarrheal illnesses such as norovirus, this is not passed person to person. And so the eggs have to actually dwell in the environment for a period of time. And so typically this happens when soil or water is contaminated by feces from somebody else that is already infected. Now, in terms of having the duration of illness, you can have periods where people can get better or worse, and so this plays into another challenge of having a diagnosis here.
And really tracking it down.
Yes.
What kinds of things can people do to prevent this? I've seen lists of like berries with different crevices, like raspberries might be bad, or now we know the lettuce situation, but then you also don't want to tell people not to eat fruits and vegetables because that's bad too.
That's right. I think it's really challenging to tell somebody to say, take out an entire food group when we have so much benefit. I think the thing to emphasize here is that cooking and heating and the temperature here is 158 degrees Fahrenheit is the only sure way to kill the parasite eggs and prevent spread. And so I think other things that we could potentially do are, now that lettuce has been implicated, and in the past, bag lettuce, for example, has been potential sources. So if you're going to eat leafy greens, I would say, buy the entire vegetable. That way you can at least, for example, take off the outer leaves and then wash everything really well. Same thing with fruits, for example. And so fruits that have an outer peel, for example, can be washed, scrubbed, and then taken off. And that can be a way to reduce risk. Things like raspberries and strawberries with little nooks and crannies may be challenging to wash. But again, the bottom line is cooking is the only way to eliminate the risk, and these other methods simply potentially reduce the risk.
Anything else you think people should know today about this?
Well, I think the key here is to still practice vigilance. And so even though we have a potential source in these 5 states announced, this may not be the only source response for the outbreaks of the other 34 states, including here in Buffalo.
All right, all good tips and real talk about something that's impacting lots of people. Appreciate it, Doctor.
My pleasure.
Very helpful, and you can find more information about cyclosporiasis on our website, WGRZ.com. Stay with us. We'll have a rundown of things happening this weekend across Western New York when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. We're talking about Amazon.
Okay.
You've purchased many things from Amazon.
My wife has.
I've purchased many things from Amazon, but a lot of people don't know that here in Western New York, there is a company that started 100 years ago that was kind of like the Amazon before Amazon, analog Amazon.
Right, yeah, very much so. Pretty cool.
Yeah, Pete Gallivan has that unknown story.
It was 1875 that the good ship Larkin set sail.
They had quite a run up until about 1950. So, 75 years is a long time.
Starting up very small with just one building on Chicago Street.
They started there selling soap, and then they ended up selling almost anything that you could use in your home in these catalogs that they would produce several times a year.
It ultimately expanded into a multi-building campus with more than 2,000 workers filling up over 2 million square feet by 1912.
They were manufacturers, they were distributors all over the country. They were one of the largest companies in the country at the time.
And a company that used the slogan, the Larkin idea.
It was what they call factory to family.
To transform a simple soap company into a mail-order monster.
If you look back at the old catalogs, you see hundreds, thousands really of products that you could buy and have delivered, and they would basically come here to the Larkin Terminal warehouse. The trains would literally come into the building, load up, and go on their way to all points east and west.
And by year 50, it was the Larkin plant for happier homes. Hair products, lotions, food items, both men's and women's clothing, furniture, even musical instruments, and the latest in phonographic sounds. You name it, they sold it. Think of Larkin as almost an analog Amazon, and an approach that has come full circle. While online shopping has put a big dent in the bottom line of brick and mortar, it was the rise of the automobile and shopping centers that ultimately helped knock Larkin off of its pedestal.
It wasn't the only reason, but it contributed to the demise of Larkin in the day. And if you fast forward now, many decades forward to modern times, here the factory to family or direct to consumer cut out the retail has sort of reemerged, obviously, as a major force in consumer buying habits.
And now, 151 years after it was founded, the Larkin name has risen again and become a different kind of asset in the Queen City and within the unknown stories of Western New York.
Darwin Martin got his money. The coffee break, it was allegedly started by the Larkin Company. The
Really?
coffee break, yeah.
Like in the work day? Mm-hmm. I did not know that.
Well, there you go. Yeah, they're like first employer known to have like coffee for everybody. Keep it caffeinated.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Larkin.
They said weather in my ear. Am I expected to do a weather forecast right now?
No, we're just going to talk real quick about the weather impact alert that we did have from today. And this is the shot of Toronto that we saw yesterday, which you could barely make out any of these buildings. Right. It looks so much better today, the shot from our Earth cam. And so it means our skies will clear out as well.
Yeah, I don't have my weather clicker on me. They could take the 7-day if they'd like, and I could walk you through it. I could
No, it's okay, because we're going to talk about weekend events and everything. And everything that's happening this weekend should be fine except for the rain tomorrow, but it's not going to, the air quality is not going to affect the events happening this weekend.
That is correct.
Great.
How much do you want me to be detailed? I'll do a complete. Okay, so the weather it's going to be 80 today. It's going to be dry today. I'm just going to talk until they tell me to shut up.
No, it's okay. First, we'll talk about the events. I've got lots of events to talk about, and then we can talk about the weather if you want to.
When you say weather in my ear, I could go on for 5 minutes. Okay.
Quite all right.
Okay.
First, can you talk about a grease pole?
Yes.
Have you seen this? This is so much fun to see. This is happening this weekend. The 55th Annual Grease Pole Festival kicks off today. It'll take over the Augustin Puccio Lavencia Community Center on Swan Street.
Work as a team.
How do they practice? That's what I want to know. It's a 3-day festival celebrating Puerto Rican culture, live music, dancing, delicious food. The weekend is all for a great cause, also raising money for youth programs and college scholarships in our community. That's happening this weekend. Tonight is the 44th running of the Subaru Buffalo 4-mile chase. Hundreds of runners will help raise money for the ECMC Foundation. The race will start on Elmwood at Bidwell, goes for 4 miles, of course, ends at Buffsem, and that all starts at 7 o'clock tonight. There's also the Jamaican Market tomorrow. That's a 6th annual Jamaican Market. It's at Larkinville. Vibrant culture, live entertainment, plenty of authentic food, much of which is made by Chef Darian Bryan.
Okay.
It's organized by him and his team. It's only tomorrow. It's from 3 to 8, so bring an umbrella for that. In Hamburg, it's Burger Fest, and that kicks off at 11 a.m. at Main and Buffalo Streets in the village of Hamburg. Dozens of restaurants and food trucks will help to celebrate Hamburg's claim to inventing the hamburger. That one-day festival ends at 10 p.m. And then Sunday is Canal Fest. It kicks off at Gratwick Park this year, and it goes for a whole week.
I believe Orchard Park is a music festival Saturday, and then the Depew, their Founders Days, continue until Saturday, and Old Homes Days in Williamsville ends today.
Ends today.
Man, we take advantage of our summers around here.
We seriously do. They're not long enough, and we pack in all the fun.
If you're of reasonable health today, go outside and have fun.
Have fun, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.